Capitalism says, let the market decide. Private owners compete and prices set themselves. Socialism says the opposite. The community controls production and the state provides. Two systems, each promising prosperity. One helped lift 800 million people out of poverty. The other achieved healthcare results that the richest nations still have not matched. So between capitalism and socialism, what actually worked? The numbers tell a story that neither side wants to hear. Capitalism and socialism are often presented as opposites. But what do these terms actually mean in practice? In capitalism, most businesses and resources are privately owned. Prices, wages, and production are mainly decided by buyers and sellers in open markets. Government may set some rules or provide safety nets, but the market is in the driver's seat. In socialism, the state or the community owns key industries and resources. Decisions about what to produce and how to distribute goods are made collectively, often through government planning. Many countries mix elements of both, but these are the broad outlines. To compare outcomes, economists use a few key numbers. Gross domestic product, sometimes called GDP, measures the total value of goods and services produced in a country. Real GDP growth shows whether an economy is expanding after adjusting for inflation. Per capita income and real wages track how much money people actually take home, accounting for rising prices. Poverty rates show how many people live below a basic standard, usually set by the World Bank at about $2.15 per day, adjusted for cost of living. Wealth concentration looks at how much of a country's assets are held by the richest 1%. Health and education outcomes, like life expectancy, literacy rates, and test scores, reveal how well a society is meeting basic needs. These are the yardsticks used by groups like the World Bank, the World Health Organization, and Oxfam to judge what is working and what is not. With these definitions and tools in hand, the story turns to the evidence. Market economies have delivered some of the most dramatic expansions in history. After World War II, the United States saw real personal income double between 1946 and 1980. This meant that Americans across the income spectrum, not just the wealthy, took home twice as much purchasing power in just one generation. The United States economy itself grew from $2.86 trillion in 1980 to more than $25 trillion by 2023, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. China's experience after 1978 adds another chapter to this story. By introducing market incentives and allowing private enterprise alongside state control, China's economy achieved sustained growth, averaging close to 10% a year for 4 decades. The World Bank reports that over 800 million people in China moved out of extreme poverty during this period. Special economic zones, price liberalization, and a shift toward profit-driven businesses played key roles. These examples show how market-driven systems, when combined with smart reforms, can boost growth and lift millions out of poverty. Incentives for innovation, competition, and investment have proven powerful tools for raising living standards on a large scale. Not everyone has shared equally in the gains of market economies. According to Oxfam, about 66% of all new wealth created worldwide between 2010 and 2020 went to the richest 1%. In the United States, the median worker's real wage grew just 17.5% from 1980 to 2023, even as overall economic output soared. For many, paychecks have barely kept up with the cost of living, while top earners and shareholders have seen much larger increases. This widening gap is not limited to income. Wealth, The total value of assets like homes, stocks, and businesses has become even more concentrated at the top. Market-driven growth has also come with hidden costs. Economists call these externalities, side effects that markets do not price in, such as pollution. For example, while the carbon intensity of production has improved, total carbon dioxide emissions have kept rising because economic growth outpaces efficiency gains. The average market price for carbon remains well below its estimated environmental cost, so the climate impact is largely left off the balance sheet. These patterns raise questions about who benefits most from capitalist systems and what gets left out when the market is the main decision maker. Public services have often been the strongest side of socialist-leaning systems, and a few countries stand out for what they have achieved. Cuba's healthcare system is a striking example. According to the World Health Organization, more than 96% of Cuban children receive all recommended vaccines, putting the country on par with the world's wealthiest nations. In 2015, Cuba became the first country to eliminate mother-to-child transmission of HIV thanks to a network of clinics that reach nearly every neighborhood. The focus on prevention and universal access means even with limited resources, health outcomes rival those of far richer countries. Education is another area where public investment has paid off. Cuba's adult literacy rate is about 99%, and every child attends school free of charge. Finland, though better known for its market economy, has adopted many social democratic policies in education. Finnish classrooms consistently rank among the best in the world. In the latest OECD international tests, Finnish students placed near the top in reading, math, and science. And the country's adult literacy rate is essentially 100%. Schools are publicly funded, teachers are well-trained and respected, and college tuition is free. The Nordic countries, including Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, combine high taxes with generous social benefits. Their poverty rates hover around 5%, among the lowest anywhere, and income inequality remains modest, with Gini coefficients below 0.28. Universal health care, subsidized childcare, and strong safety nets mean that nearly everyone has access to basic needs. These outcomes draw on a mix of public provision and market activity, but the core lesson is clear. When the state invests heavily in health, education, and welfare, broad social gains are possible. Economic slowdowns and incentive problems have challenged socialist systems in practice. In the Soviet Union, the planned economy that once fueled rapid industrial growth began to lose steam in the 1970s. Official data and later research show that real GDP growth slipped to about 2% per year through the 1980s, far below the pace needed to support rising living standards. By 1991, the Soviet economy had contracted sharply, contributing to the collapse of the state itself. Analysts point to several causes, including a lack of price signals, rigid central planning, and equal wage policies that made it hard to reward individual effort or innovation. Factories often met quotas for quantity, not quality, and shortages of consumer goods became routine. China's experience before the 1978 reforms offers another example. Under the People's Commune system, workers in agriculture and industry received nearly identical state-set wages, whether they were driving a cab or teaching at a university. Studies from the University of California and the UCR Working Group found that annual productivity growth in agriculture hovered around 2% in the 1960s and the 1970s, well below the gains seen after market reforms. The uniform pay structure reduced incentives to work harder or find better ways of doing things, and food shortages were common. Venezuela's recent crisis highlights a different risk: dependence on a single state-run commodity. Between 2016 and 2023, Venezuela's crude oil production dropped by about 75%, according to OPEC data. As oil revenue collapsed, government price controls and expropriations led to runaway inflation and a shrinking economy. GDP fell by nearly a third, and millions faced shortages of basic goods. These cases show how weak incentives, rigid planning, and over-reliance on one sector can limit what socialist systems are able to deliver over time. Growth and social well-being are delivered in fundamentally different ways under capitalism and socialism. Market-driven economies often excel in expanding the size of the economic pie, driving innovation, raising output, and creating new opportunities for those who can compete. But this approach can leave gaps, especially when it comes to sharing the gains broadly or ensuring that basic needs are met for everyone. Socially oriented systems, in contrast, tend to prioritize universal access to health, education, and security. These models can deliver impressive results in areas like literacy, life expectancy, and poverty reduction, but sometimes at the expense of rapid growth or personal incentives. The trade-off becomes clear. Systems that push for maximum growth can struggle with inequality, while those built for equity may face limits on dynamism and efficiency. Most real-world countries land somewhere between these extremes, borrowing tools from both sides to address their unique challenges. Few countries fit neatly at either end of the economic spectrum. Most land somewhere in between, blending markets with public programs to suit their own needs. The Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, are often highlighted for this approach. They pair private enterprise and open markets with high taxes and broad social benefits. Universal health care, free higher education, and strong safety nets are standard, yet businesses still compete and innovate. Poverty rates remain low, and income gaps are narrower than in most wealthy nations. On another part of the spectrum, China's current model combines state ownership of key sectors with a vibrant private economy. Market incentives drive growth and investment, while the government shapes direction and maintains control over strategic industries. These examples show that, in practice, the most effective systems often borrow tools from both capitalism and socialism, adapting as challenges change. Today, every major economy exists somewhere between pure markets and full state control. No system is perfect. Real progress comes from adapting, not choosing sides. As global challenges grow more complex, the lesson is clear. Success depends on finding the right balance. Where are we on that spectrum now?